Hello everyone. I'd like to say thanks that I am invited to present the Danish rehabilitation system together with my colleague Ole, who is the practical guy, because he is actually the one who put people back to job. My position is that I am both a partner of EduCore on behalf of my college, but I'm also educated as an occupational therapist and have been working with rehabilitation for 15 years in Denmark before I entered the college and become a teacher, a manager, a project coordinator. It's a good place, you can be anything. But I'm also representing a workplace who has the profile where we would like to have most of the Danish companies in a few years, that we are reflecting how the community looks outside the company. And we are about 150 employees at our workplace, and we have about 7% of these employees are on what we can call some kind of supported jobs in our college. So I'm also here to tell a little about what is the challenge if we will succeed to have the companies to work together with us to take these people into employment and find the places, find the works, because it's not easy. And there's a lot of challenges, not only as a company, I can tell you that as a manager, but there's also a lot of conflicts according to the future colleagues. Will they accept? What kind of discussions does it create inside these companies when people come and will have the same salary as me, but they leave at noon, and I'll have to stay here at 4 hours more, and those who work at 12, they will have the same salary. It creates a lot of discussions. It demands a lot of discussions inside the companies, but I think first of all, it demands that we will be served very well by the communities or the municipalities who is the partner in these processes. And Ole is the person who has been serving my company, and it has been very successful, but it is not in all companies in Denmark yet, but it develops. So that's my reason to stay here. I need to make a little history, because rehabilitation and how we deal with rehabilitation was one of many factors why we made organizational reform of the company Denmark 3 years ago, because we were changing from one state, 14 counties and 275 municipalities in a country of 5 million people. So we have very small municipalities, and it was one of the reasons that we changed was that the small municipality couldn't deal with many things, but they couldn't deal with the rehabilitation process. It was too expensive, they couldn't have the competences. If you had municipalities of 3,000 inhabitants, it is very hard to have the right people with the right competences. So we changed this system that we are still one state. We are not still a part of Sweden. And it is our wishes that it will stay this way for a period. But we are only 5 regions now, so we have closed down the counties. And the only purpose of the regions is to run the hospitals. They have no other task to take care of. Only run the hospitals and run them good. All other tasks has now removed to the municipalities. And the reason we want that was that we could see that in the old system, it was the county who was responsible for the rehabilitation. But it was the municipality who had to pay the care afterwards. And to have 2 different boxes to pay for the same person develops some problems about when does things stops. So we believe that when we move rehabilitation to be a municipality responsibility, that we will have this effect that rehabilitation will never stop, because it will be the same money box to pay if we have to give more care. If we don't rehabilitate, you will have to give more care. So now it's the same box that will pay. You can pay it as care, or you can pay as rehabilitation. So that's one of So I would like to set focus on three things, because I think these are the three most important when we talk about how a successful return to job can take place. There is, of course, how we work to have the highest quality in rehabilitation. And I'd like to say a few words about where we think the focus should be, or at least where we focus in Denmark, to have a higher quality in the rehabilitation, no matter where it takes place. If it is a part of the treatment at the hospital, where the focus of the rehabilitation and the aims of the rehabilitation is very much the return to life, or it is the rehabilitation that will take place after hospital, paid by the municipality and organized by the municipality, where job is a part of the rehabilitation, to return to job, but still also to return to a life where you will have a less demands of care, because we are also to pay that as a municipality. And then Ole will set focus on, because that's what he knows something about, of course we need the right legislation in the country. How can we support this return? What kind of legislation? We changed this for 5 years ago, where we could see that we had a legislation that supported more people to go on pension than go back to work, because it was more profitable for many people to go on a pension. And it was very hard to persuade the companies to give full salary for a person who only could half work. So we had a problem about flexibility in our legislation that more supported that pension was the end before a return to labor market. And then, of course, there is a problem about how we slowly change labor market to be more open-minded, from the owner of the company, the college, as I said, but also the rehabilitated person itself, because it shows up that we have problems. We can have a company who is willing to open up for people with another functionality. We can have good colleagues who are open-minded, and still will fail, because after 6 months or 8 months or 14 months, we will have to stop or sack the person, because the person himself, in fact, is a bigger problem than his physical handicap is a problem, because he have changed his identity. It is not the same person before the sickness or the accidents. It's a person with another self-understanding. He have another storytellings about himself, and he think himself handicapped or sick. And we know from a variety of other diagnoses that it don't have to be that way. People who were suffering from diabetic in the 50s, they think they were sick. People who are suffering from diabetic today don't think they are sick. They can be sick for a period, then they'll be healthy again when they regulate the insulin. But when we talk about brain strokes and we talk about the heart cases, we can see that it does something about the psychological thinking, about we think ourselves. And that's where we think that one of the main challenges to raise the quality of rehabilitation will be focused the year to come. It is, what is the right psychological support that we don't have these chains of identity? Because we know from certain individuals. We have some persons in Denmark that everyone knows because they were famous before, then they had a terrible accident, and we can see that even though they are in a wheelchair, even though they have lost a leg, they still have the fighting spirit. They are the same persons, they are still hard to discuss with, they still have the demands to life, but they also still deliver. They don't think themselves changed as a person because they don't want to change. I will still have the same demands to life, but I'll also still deliver as I did before my handicap. And these people, I think we should learn from and let inspire us all, including the future patients, that you don't need to be a sick person on work. So that is something that we have to develop about what is the right psychological support. And I'll say a few words about this. And at the same, I'll say a few words, where do we think that the physical training can improve or develop or become better? Because I think all over Europe we are very good in the physical part. We will develop slowly, we will have better equipment, we'll be more precise. So I think that's not the area where there will be the biggest development. What we did in Denmark when we made this reform was to decide on a national level that we want to have what we call the good practice for the patients. We want one description of what is the good rehabilitation process for every diagnosis we can imagine. So every municipality in Denmark will have to describe what is the plan for people who is suffering from cold. What is the plan for people who are suffering from apoplexia? What is the rehabilitation plan for people who are suffering from this and this and this? Every municipality will have to make a written plan that this is how we deal with this in our municipality. The other national is that we need to talk the same language. That's why we decided that we all need to talk the ICF language, as was mentioned before. So from kindergarten to hospitals to a rehabilitation center, and until Ole is standing outside the door of a company, we need to understand that we describe the same persons. Because we could see that you could have quite similar accidents in the northern part of Denmark and in the southern part. For people outside, it seems to be the same problem, and they will have the same training, they will cost the same in money to rehabilitate. And in the southern part, this person will end up on pension, and in the north part, he will end on job. What was the difference? Because for people outside, it seems to be the same situation. They were just as handicapped or just as ill in the beginning. So if we don't have the same language, we cannot evaluate what was the difference. Because if you ask my colleagues in the southern part, why did your patient end up on a pension when in the northern part he ended up in job again? They will certainly say in the southern part, oh, but our patient was also worse hit than the man in the northern part, because we can't explain what were we seeing. What did you see that was his problem? How did you describe this man's problem? So the more we can standardize these descriptions, we can also eliminate slowly the factor that all professionals are not just as good as the college.